Hi everyone, this is Lien and welcome back to the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing a birthday card where I'm using an older mini slimline die from Crafty Meraki called a Frame-Worthy Mini Slimline, and I'm also using the Birthday Cutie from my favorite things. This is going to be my main image, but also my only image, because this is one of those stamps that can stand on its own completely, and I also just like to create clean and simple cards, so whenever I can only feature one image, I will definitely do so. I stamped this image out onto Transotype perfect coloring paper using Obsidian black Gina Designs Amalgam ink. This is an ink that can work for Copics, but also for watercoloring and all those things. So I prefer having an ink like that, preventing me from using the wrong ink for the wrong medium that I'm going to use that day. So this way I am, well, secure that I have the right ink on top of my paper. Then the Transotype Perfect Coloring Paper is a really good paper if you're struggling with your markers, your alcohol markers that are bleeding through and going outside of the lines of your image without you doing it because your paper gets oversaturated. Then I would definitely recommend this paper. It is a lifesaver for me. Before I colored on Gina and that worked as well for me, but from time to time when you have a color family like the violets for me that are really hard to blend and where you have to add multiple layers, a paper like this is really useful. Aside from that, for the coloring, I tend to start with the items that I find the hardest to color, being the skin tone and the hair. And once I am past those two difficult parts of my image, I'm sure that I will be able to handle the rest of the coloring without any struggles normally. So that's what I'm doing here. For this kitten, I decided to go with a bit of spots. I'm using mostly the same colors as the hair, just only 2 instead of 3, and a bit of a lighter color combination. Now for the colors, I really wanted this girl to pop, so I decided to go with teals and then reds. And it's so bizarre how these two colors are so great together. They are really opposites from each other and they are really strong colors, both of them. But at the same time, they do not fight, they just make the other one shine more, in my opinion. So I decided to go with red for the balloon, and then I also chose red for the blouse, and then the teals for the dress. So I decided to go a bit like that, really simple, reusing colors. That's a way that I use whenever I want to make a clean and simple card. Reusing colors, for me, that helps with the simplicity. Even if you have a really intricate image, using the same colors can really help you with clean and simple. If you do not like clean and simple, of course, add more. Use a rainbow or a variety of colors. That will be, of course, gorgeous as well. It just depends on your style and what you prefer. So I'm coloring from darkest to lightest. It's something that I hear often, that people tell me, oh, I'm doing it wrong, I'm starting with the lightest. No, not at all. Actually, there are a lot of incredible Copic colorists that also go from lightest to darkest, and I think it's also a way to easily get to know your markers. And if you're not sure about some colors, you can first try with the lighter colors and then go over it with the darkest. In the end, it works, and that's the most important thing. It's about having fun. And I tried the first year that I did Copic coloring, I did a variety of techniques. They all work, but then at the end I decided to just stick to one, and I kept the one going from darkest to lightest. But you do you, whatever you feel comfortable with and what gives you that end result that you really like. That's the most important thing. Another thing that I wanted to mention, however, about coloring and stuff, I'm always sharing my combos, and even though you might use the same markers, your end result might be different. I also can say that I can never recreate a card. I don't like doing that, but even if I want to do that, my coloring is never 2 times the same. So that being said, there is a really handy video as well out there from Sandy Elnock, where she is using the same markers, but she is coloring in a different way, and she shows you how the same markers can 3 times end up completely different depending on which marker you start with and which you end with. So if you're curious about that, or if you're like wondering why your end result is different towards other YouTubers, then definitely check out that video, because it was, even for me, it was really useful, and at the same time a bit mind-blowing, because I always think if I help with the combos that I use, then everyone can recreate this or another card, but know that it will always be a bit different, and definitely if you have another way of coloring, however, it will be gorgeous, I'm sure of it. So as I said, from Crafty Meraki, I'm using the Frame-Worthy Mini Slimline, and if you cut out the largest frame, you get this frame and then the inside piece. So on the inside piece, I stamped out the sentiment, and then I'm using the cloud stencil from My Favorite Things to add a bit of clouds on the background so that she's floating in the air. And I'm using a combination of Evergreen Bough and cracked pistachio to get my color there. I sort of try to mimic the blue on the dress. And so once the ink blending is done, I'm going to start adhering everything on my card base. Now I want the panel to be flat on top of the card base, so therefore I'm already adding a bit of adhesive. Now the frame I want to have with dimension, and I recently got these foam sticky strips from Tailored Expressions. Really handy. There are others out there. I also have the Darice foam strips, but these are shorter. So I thought maybe I can just use these new ones because they are longer and it will take less time to cover the frame completely. Another thing that is really cool about those strips, or any strips that you might have, is that it's so handy whenever you want to make a shaker card, that you just quickly have thin strips with a thickness that is good for shakers ready to go. So I just added them all over, really securing my frame when I'm adhering it by adding as much adhesive as I can on the back. And then I'm going to align it with my card base as straight as possible. And then I can inlay that panel in between. Now I decided to put some purple tape in my card base just to keep it flat, to keep it closed, and then it's really easy to line everything up. Okay, since I have that frame with dimension, I also had to find dimension for the little girl. And I still have some leftovers. This is the Sizzix foam adhesive sheets leftovers that I had. Also really thick foam adhesive things. But it works, and since my frame is already really high, I need to have at least the same height there, so that the girl isn't wonky or anything. So I'm making sure that I'm covering the girl on the back except where it's slightly overhanging with the frame. And then I'm going to overhang it a bit with that frame so that it looks like she's out of the frame. It's not just something fixed, she's really floating. She can pop out every moment. I decided to add a few embellishments, and there are a lot of embellishments out there. Whenever I'm unsure about embellishments, or whenever I have a really light background like here, I tend to search for an iridescent embellishment that I have, and I just love these bubbles. They have different sizes, as do the Crafty Meraki embellishments, so that's really handy. You can really play with sizes and not have the same size next to each other. And then I'm just placing them using my embellishment wand. I decided to finish off this card by adding some glossy accents to the balloon. Really fun. I think always whenever I'm having a balloon, I'm like, glossy accents. Yeah. So adding it here, and then this card is completely finished. I'm not going to add anything more. This is a really simple birthday card. I love the frame from the Frame-Worthy Mini Slimline. I think you know that. I use it often already. So thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to thank you all, and I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon. Bye!